Folks, this is Mike DeBruzzo from Canine One Specialized Dog Training, answering questions for you. If you have any questions, please subscribe, put it in the comments below, and I will be answering the most popular questions first. If I do not get to your question, don't be discouraged. Keep writing them in the most recent video because I am not going to be answering the same questions twice. Today's question, Q&A, is going to be based off of aggression. In general, I am getting lots and lots of questions on aggression from both ends of the spectrum, meaning, Mike, I want my dog to be more aggressive versus Mike, I want my dog to be less aggressive. And all sorts of things based specifically on protection training, the grip, the grip on the bite, and having the dog do it only on command, all sorts of things. So this is my advice to everyone that has a question based off of aggression, is first research the different types of aggression, because aggression is not a one size fits all. And people misinterpret why dogs are being aggressive all the time. So first thing I'm going to do is start you off with a resource. It's directly from my own webpage. It's the same resource I give all my clients. I have a direct link to it. It's very easy to remember. You could put in your URL, not your search box to do like a Google search, in your actual URL. You would type aggression.tips instead of .com, aggression.tips. It takes you directly to my page that has details on all the popular types of aggression. Also, resources so you can read further about those types of aggressive behaviors. Understand the aggression first before you try to make a plan for it. So I'm going to go over some of these types of aggressive tendencies now. So it'll kind of get your wheels turning and be like, oh, okay, it's going to help you with your plan. Now, one of the first types of aggression that we are exposed to is simply just play aggression. So this is a type of aggression when people get a puppy and it's biting your ankles, it's biting toys, it looks like it's playing really rough. Remember, play in most carnivores is practice hunting, practice fighting. So a lot of it looks a lot worse than what it is, but it's simply just play. Now, people do exploit that a lot in sport work in particular. This is where you see videos and you see an owner taking bites from their own dog, like on a bite sleeve or something. And they're like, why is the dog attacking its own owner or its own handler? That's easy because it's just play, all right? It's just play. So if you see a dog biting a sleeve and it's biting its own handler or people that it knows well and everything else is unprotected, believe me, the dog is playing, all right? That is called play aggression. That is play aggression. Now, play aggression can evolve into something what's called prey aggression, meaning the dog sees the target as an actual prey item, like a rabbit, something to grab, something to kill, something to hunt. Play aggression tends, as depending on the genetics of the dog, can evolve into a true predatory aggression. This is what you see in police work, where now the dog, even if there is not a sleeve, they are going to bite and hunt and grab onto someone just like it's taken down a deer or something like that. And all the police officers come and they jump on. It's just like a wolf pack taking something down, all right? That is prey aggression. Now, you do not want to confuse this with what I call protective aggression, all right? Protective aggression, which is what 95% of people that watch my videos are actually interested in, is the aggression that is motivated by the instinct to protect itself and its own pack members. So this is a dog that's protecting its puppies, or a dog, you see someone grabs the owner, gets too close to the owner, hugs the owner, and the dog starts getting aggressive, all right? This is a totally different type of aggression. So for instance, some people are worried because their dog does not have a lot of play or prey drive and is not biting a sleeve well or a tug, that it's not going to be protective of them, or they cannot train the dog in real protection training towards them. That is just simply not true. Believe me, it most likely, if your dog does not have high prey drive or play drive, yeah, you're not going to compete in high level sport work with your dog, but it does not mean that you cannot do protection training with the dog. And real protection training, you don't really do with the dog until the dog is about 2 years of age. Below that, they are young, they're immature, so you cannot rule that out. Now, protective aggression is highly related to what we call fear aggression. As a dog trainer, when someone comes to me and they say their dog is just like lunging at everybody, is aggressive at all dogs in all situations, on and off property, that we call fear aggression. And what fear aggression is very related to protective aggression. They're worried about themselves or their owner, so they're going to have this attitude, I'm going to get you before you get me. The reason why we call it fear aggression instead of protective aggression is because we call it that when it seems irrational. If it seems like it's more of a phobia. Protective aggression is when it is what we would consider a real threat towards the owner or towards the dog. When a dog is just being aggressive towards a toddler walking by or a dog minding its own business, this is based off of a phobia. Although the motivation in the dog's head is the same, they feel like they're protecting you or themselves, the classification is different because the dog is dealing with a phobia, okay? So this is different, but it's very, very, very similar, all right? It's very, very similar. So read about that so you know the differences. Now, something else that people get confused with is territorial aggression. Territorial aggression is aggression where the motivation is based off of protecting their territory or their property. Some people get worried because their dog is not that territorial, that people could just walk onto their property or walk past their yard and the dog is not barking, that automatically means that they cannot do sport work with their dog or they can't do formal personal protection training with their dog. Again, it's just simply not true. It's a different motivation. Just because a dog is not barking at strangers going by your house, it does not necessarily mean your dog does not have the instinct to protect you when the dog is old enough. So people should not worry about that. And to dig a little deeper and to give you an example with that, a lot of people get German Shepherds now for personal protection training. And I've bred a lot of German Shepherds. Well, not a lot, but a fair amount to understand the genetics behind it. And I would selectively breed, for my own purposes, German Shepherds that were territorial aggressive, because I like to know when someone's coming up on the property. But keep in mind, a lot of working line German Shepherds, police officers are not really using them to protect property. So it's very, very common that you can find a German Shepherd that has very good prey drive when it's older and will hunt and grab a person for real. And also be protective of the handler, but has very little territorial aggression because a lot of police officers are not really using them to protect the property. So it's not an important trait for them to breed into them anymore. Although many are, all right? That's why you need to know not only differences in the breeds, but the differences within the lines of the dogs and the differences even within the individual puppies. So if you're concerned about that, talk to your breeder. If it's a good breeder, they can usually tell you what their dog's parents does, what their lines are, and even sometimes things that they see within the puppy, okay? Now, another thing that people are confused about is simply barrier frustration. Barrier frustration is driving dog owners mad right now because a lot of people are getting working line dogs that have a lot of barrier frustration bred into them. Barrier frustration, I wouldn't necessarily call it aggression. It's frustration. It comes out in the form of aggression and it exasperates just about any type of aggression. But what it is if you take a dog and you restrain that dog, some dogs are selectively bred that even if you throw a tennis ball for them and you restrain them, they almost cannot contain themselves. They start barking and hollering because they're so frustrated. It comes out in this aggressive display. Even though they're not scared of the tennis ball, they just want to go after it. So you can see this in play aggression, in prey aggression, in protective aggression, in territorial aggression. If a dog has a strong barrier frustration instinct, everything is going to be exasperated. Now, this is exploited a lot in sport work, where people that they're doing sport work, the good sport dog trainers know the difference between the different aggressive drives. And a lot of these dogs are on the field and they're basically playing, all right? So they're basically playing, and they have to do things like bark and holds, where they go up to an agitator and they have to stop and they have to bark at the agitator until it's the right time to bite that sleeve. And dogs are much easier to train if they bark easily when they cannot have something, so it's bred a lot into dogs in sporting lines. So what happens is people then buy these dogs from the breeders, and they're walking down their street, and everything their dog wants to get to, whether it's because they're worried about it or they just want to go play with it, when they're restrained on that leash and they feel the ends of the leash, they have a tendency to bark more. All right, it does. And their motivation could be different. It truly could be a fear aggression, or they could just want to play. But this is barrier frustration that you're dealing with. And you just want to understand it first before we address it. Okay? Last thing before we end this video, because there is more, go to the resources. I don't want to go on and on here, is dominance aggression. People are very confused about dominance aggression. Some people think it doesn't even exist, that it's imaginary. But believe me, dominance aggression is a real thing. It's a real concept. It's taught in all universities, anywhere that you're going to learn animal behavior. It's a real thing, as long as you understand what it is. All right? Dominance is just first right to a limited resource. It is designed to limit aggression. When two animals or two creatures know who has the first right to a resource, there is no aggression, there's no conflict at all. And this can happen even interspecies. It doesn't matter. There's two animals, they try to get to the same spot on the water, at a watering hole in Africa. If they have conflict and they fight over it, and then they know who has first right over that resource, it is considered dominance. Now that can go a step further when you have social animals. You have social animals that work together like canines, where the animal that is generally dominant also has the right to lead. Leading in ethology, and I do have links at the resource to Meek's wolf studies, all right, it's just leadership is just who makes the decisions for the group. Dominant dogs tend to also have the right to lead. It's so they can work together and survive. Let's all go hunt. Let's all go rest. Let's all go attack this, all right? There are definitely exceptions to this rule, but this is just in general. So if someone is having a dominance aggression problem, if you have a question about your dog growling or showing aggression at you when you are trying to make the dog do something that it doesn't really want to do, or if there's one place on the couch and you both want to sit there and the dog starts growling, things like this is generally falls into the category of dominance aggression. And it's a big subject, and it's confused. It confuses a lot of people, but we'll dive deeper into that. Okay, so go to the resource aggression.tips. If you have read that resource, then I can dive a lot deeper into a lot more questions about aggression for you. Until next time, this is Michael D'Abruzzo from Canine One Specialized Dog Training.